Hello, it's Elisa here interrupting your podcast, but it's for good reason. I want to share something with you. I've got a program called Team Machine, and it's where I teach the salon team member, hairdresser, beauty therapist, whoever is client facing. And I'm going to teach them the 5 1s, the 5 things that are really going to move the needle. First, we're going to make them a standout, right? So we're going to teach them how to attract their own clients so that you're not the only one filling their column. Get them to understand that. And then a full and remarkable solution. So help them to understand that clients come with problems that they know they have, but they also have problems that they don't know they have. So that's really about teaching them to use their voice, speak up, make suggestions. And then what I'm going to teach them is to get the next appointment, or maybe it's sell them to a package, or when am I going to see you again? So in simple terms, it's attract, convert, and deliver. And that's what I'm going to teach them. And it's been my go-to for everybody that I've trained, for thousands of them over the years. In fact, I wrote a book on it, Your Salon Team. So I'm just so excited. I cannot wait. So if you're interested, just click the link below and we can talk about if it's suitable for your team. See you soon. Chapter 13 is all about letting them. The Mel Robbins book, Let Them, is a whole book on it. And it's about letting people experience and work things out for themselves. And it's not easy. It's not easy. And I think in salons, it's not easy because you know that if that client isn't happy and she doesn't return, it's heart-wrenching. Like, you just don't want that to happen from a business perspective, from an emotional perspective, and because you care and you want to look after everyone. But you can't. You just can't. And one of the things I learned very early on in the piece is that you just let people work stuff out and you just be in the wings. And things like asking at what point would you like me to help you? Like, I'm happy for you to do this client, but we need a sign that says, excuse me, that signals to me that you want my help, right? Because a lot of people aren't comfortable with asking for help, and especially in a team and business owner environment, because they don't want you to know that they don't know. So they want to wing it or do the best they can without you knowing that they don't know, and there lies the problem. So that's a trust issue, right? So when you swoop in and check up and do that long stretched neck meerkat thing, you are saying, without using the words, but you are saying, I better get over there and sort this out. And that's not a nice feeling. I wouldn't like that done to me. I remember my children growing up, my daughter's first sentence was, I do by self, mummy. That's what she said. And she's a fiercely independent. I actually speak about her in the book, and I say that she was 26. She's not now. She's 35, I think. Yeah, she was born in 90. So the rules haven't changed. People want to be independent. People want their independence. People want to be able to work things out and make mistakes, perhaps privately. But I think the best thing we can do is ask them, how do you want to be supported? How do you want me to support you? And just have a sign where you look over and you wink at them, and that means come over, right? Or you can have a code word that says, I don't know, I heard it was going to rain on the weekend. That could be it. And when a person says that, you know that's the code to get over there and help them. And when they feel like they have control or complete autonomy to make mistakes and to fix things up, then it's a really good workspace, right? So this is something that is connected to with the trust that you will help them when they need it, the trust that they won't ever drown. I used to say all the time, you don't drown on your own here. If something's not working, then we'll come and help you. But it needs to be the person who's doing the thing that has to ask. It's really simple. I listened to a podcast this morning about suicide, and they want to change the word from committed to death by suicide. And just that simple word taken away means that it will be more accepted when something committed means that it's like a criminal act when someone commits something. But when it's death by suicide, it has a kind of connotation. And I thought, wow, that's really important how that just works. So maybe if you change the word from, and if you get into trouble or if you're struggling, come out and get me, or come down the back room and get me, or whatever. But if we just change that word to when you need some support, right? So when you need a little bit of support, or if you think you need to be supported or helped in some way, then come and get me. It's very different to struggling or drowning, or, and that was a word I used, drowning. If you're drowning, sing out. Whereas if I'd used a word when you need some support, then sing out. It's just nicer, right? And so these are the things that we're changing in our environment today to make it more user-friendly for you and for them. And when people say, can you support me? You go, yeah, no worries. If you drown and you think, well, what have you done that you're drowning, So it's really important to think about what it is you do so that you make a very comfortable environment for you, for the client, for the team member, and you just can't go wrong. So I want you to read chapter 13, what meerkats and Indian givers can teach you about sharing the load and motivating your team. If you don't, if you can't be there and the income seriously drops when you're away, that's a problem, right? So I always use the example of on leave. If you go on leave for 2 weeks and, normally you're bringing in $4,000 a week, and if that $4,000 disappears, that's $8,000 on top of your holiday, right? Now it might go down by two because they take up some of the clients. Well, it's still gone down by 4,000 over the 2 weeks. That's a lot to add on to your holiday and getting the dog minded and all of that. And I just think when you share the load and people are happy with you or with another person, and you train them so that they're more talented than you, and that's the goal. You need to be working with people who are better than you, better at applying makeup, better at doing a haircut, better than you than doing colors and whatever. And that's when you're in a really good position, because that way you'll happily recommend that person because they're better than you. And you just go, you got to have Susie. Like, I made a conscious effort not to learn the curling iron. I think it's not a curling iron. I can manage a curling iron because I grew up with one, but the flat iron. I didn't want to learn to do curls with a flat iron because I thought, no, I'll get stuck with it. So every time I had someone who wanted that look, I said, go to her. She's a ripper. What? She's just so good. And then I'd say, I'm thinking this and that. She'd go, okay, no worries. You want them forward or back, or do you want them this? And I'd go, yep, up to you, love. And off she'd go. And so knowing that that person was better at it meant that I could honestly refer them on, and I never looked back. And they were better at it. Right. So find a cutter who's better than you, find a laser person who's better than you, find an injectable that's better than you, because it makes referring really easy. So if you are the best, the fastest, in your salon, there's a problem. That's the ceiling, and people need to grow past you. So maybe stop educating yourself on all those skills and start educating your team on those skills. And maybe you educate yourself on community and conversation and listening and one-on-ones and all of those things, because that's the foundation of your business. Get all those things right, and people will come to you when they've got problems, and it's just a better world. It's just a better world. So I say to people, trust me now and thank me later, because at first that might seem like a stretch. It's not. It works every single time. Not sometimes. It works every single time. So stop stretching your neck and looking to see what's going on over there. Just look, have a glance, but don't stretch your neck. It's very obvious. So hopefully that was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now. Chapter 13. What meerkats and Indian givers can teach you about sharing the load and motivating your team. What do meerkats and Indian givers have to do with training your team? Let's start with the meerkats and how to recognise it in the wild and in your salon.
A client who's usually in your column phones your salon, needing a blow wave at short notice. You suggest someone else on your team will look after her. She comes in and your team member gets on with the job of looking after her. Then you notice that instead of the usual blow wave, your client seems to be getting a haircut, even though you thought she wanted to grow her hair. So, like a meerkat, you're stretching your neck, trying to see what's going on. Like a hawk, you excuse yourself from your client and you're over there in a flash. You do your best to disguise your sticky beak, but now the stylist has to explain to you in front of the client why you've chosen to do a haircut. Really? You have to check up? Why can't you trust that your team member knows what she's doing and that your client also knows what she's doing? I call this being a meerkat. You've instilled in your client that you have to watch your staff, that they can't make a decision on their own, and you've instilled in the stylist that you can't trust them, that they can't do a proper consultation without your approval. I know, that's not your intention, but like it or not, that's how it comes across. You wonder why people on your team don't grow past you. It's because your meerkat behaviour undermines and holds them back. You're frightened that if you don't keep an eye on them, they'll get it wrong and you'll lose the client. I get where you're coming from. I really do. This client just needs to know that you'll be there if needed and when invited to be. There's a real difference. The invited bit is the real difference. You see, meerkats in the wild, in the grasslands of Africa, that's their natural habitat. You can also see them in the zoos and salons all over the world. Spot them easily in either the zoo or the salon by their outstretched necks as they try to suss out what's going on somewhere that's not where they actually are. They're curious little critters and interfering by nature, always sticking their nose into other people's business. I'm not sure why they do it in the wild or in the zoo. Probably it's a survival mechanism. The reason they do it in the salon is that they feel their heads are on the chopping block if things don't go to plan. Sure, if your client isn't happy and doesn't return, it's a very expensive mistake. The trouble with adopting meerkat behaviour is that you're showing your team member you don't trust, and you're showing that person you're working with that you don't trust them. No one likes being watched over and second-guessed. Not even you. And no one learns much when they feel scrutinised. You need to get your act together when it comes to your training, because if your training plan is effective and the results reflect an 8 or a 9 out of 10, then you'll be more confident letting your team member work on a client without you stretching your neck, meerkat style, to keep an eye on them. And they'll be more confident about using their initiative. True? It's not only exhausting being a meerkat, it holds you back from having a team who can think for themselves and act accordingly. Now, what about the Indian giver? Wanting your team to step up and letting them step up are two different things. Once again, being an Indian giver to your team means you're sending mixed messages. I notice many salon owners wanting their team members to step up and take responsibility for things. At least, well, that's what they tell me they want. The reality is quite different. In practice, they're holding their team back with their Indian giver behaviour. When I was a kid, We called some people Indian givers. I have no idea where that term comes from, and it quite possibly isn't politically correct these days. But bear with me anyway. As kids, we used to term Indian givers to describe someone who gave you something, then changed their mind and took it back. For example, perhaps my sister said, "You can have my blue jumper. I don't wear it anymore." "Oh, thank you." Then, when she saw it on me and it looked so good, I had a decent set of boobs. She didn't. She decided she wanted it back and that she shouldn't have given it to me in the first place. Why am I telling you this? In salons, many of you are doing similar things with your team members. You start by saying, "I'd like you to do blah, 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 blah," but for some reason or another, you don't let them do what you asked, and it's often halfway through the delivery that you change your mind. Your team member never learns what it feels like to take full responsibility for the whole task, and if it doesn't go exactly to plan, you, the fixer, swoop in and take it back off them completely. Sound like anyone you know? Imagine I'm standing in front of you and I ask you if you could call Mark, the product rep. I hand you a piece of paper with a list of the products I want to order, a couple of testers, and a note about a product that arrived broken in that last order. I tell you the list needs to be either scanned or read out over the phone to Mark. Then I look at the list and decide, look, it's too difficult for you, and before I've given you a chance, I take it back and I make the call myself. There, right there, I'm an Indian giver. If you want someone to do something for you, and you should, then you need to take the time to brief them properly. Ask them if they have any questions or whether or not they understand what you need them to do. To check this, get them to explain it back to you. Once you believe they've got it right, then let them get on with it so they can really learn what it's like to be in your shoes. The key is to take more time in the beginning. Pre-frame what might happen and what might not happen and what to do about it if it does or it doesn't. When you bother to explain things to people properly, they have a better understanding and also a far greater chance of success. And that's good for you and that's good for them, right? Let's face it, what's the worst that can happen? They get it wrong and then you get to fix it. Remember? People learn from experiences. There are no mistakes in life, just lessons. Learn to share the load. I got married and a week later, so did some friends of mine. Both Rita and I were hairdressers. By luck, we ended up on the Greek islands for our honeymoon at the exact same time. We had our first babies a few months apart and our second babies a day apart. Only that time I had twins. We even ended up in the same maternity hospital. It was spooky how often our lives run parallel. I remember going to see her when our first babies were about 3 years old. She had a little man sitting on the kitchen bench, spoon-feeding him. I could see she had a high chair and I said, "Why don't you let him do it himself?" "Oh, he's too slow," she said, "and he makes so much mess. This is way faster." I thought, how's he ever going to learn? It didn't matter to her that he was being spoon-fed. I'm fairly sure she isn't still doing it because both of our firstborns, Michael and Tess, are now 26-year-old doctors. They must have worked it out despite their parents having completely different approaches to parenting. My point is that you don't have to make it so hard for yourself, like Rita did with the spoon feeding. I'm sure Rita thought it wasn't hard and that I was cleaning up unnecessary mess. Rita was a stay-at-home mum and I worked part-time right through having my kids. I let my kids feed themselves as I got on with other things. Sometimes I'd return to a mammoth mess. I remember once taking the high chair outside and washing it down with the garden hose. That's how bad it was. I liked strapping them into that high chair. They were safe, even though the cat walking past may not have been. Once I came back to the room to Tess saying, "Gone," and the cat busily licking a wheat bix off her back. Tess saying, "Gone," was referring to her breakfast. That wouldn't have happened in Rita's house. Always taking the quicker route can be a double-edged sword. There's an old saying that goes like this: if you want something done, ask a busy person. For them, it's not much trouble. They just find a way to get it done. Although that's all absolutely true, sometimes people ride on the fact that you're impatient and you'd rather do it yourself than wait for anyone else to do it. The trouble with that thinking is that if you're ever away or on leave or sick, no one knows what you do because you've never shared it. That's a really unhealthy way to run a business. I call it small thinking, and it's one of the things that hobbles great salon technicians and stops them from becoming great salon owners. They either don't know how or refuse to let anyone help share their load. They keep doing everything themselves because it seems quicker. The truth is, if you give the people around you an opportunity to learn and practice, there's every chance they'll soon be doing the task just as quickly as you, maybe even quicker. If you know your time would be better used somewhere else, then hand over the jobs you feel have the slowest value. Do what you feel is what will help you reach your goals the most. Just think about it long term, not in the short term. I've never tried, nor will I ever try, to do my own bookwork. Ugh, yuck. I wouldn't enjoy it, and then I'd have to pay someone twice as much to fix it up. So, do what you love and hand over the rest to your team. They want to be part of a business and the salon's future. Rita didn't mind feeding Michael until he was 3. I did, because it didn't fit into my plan. It wasn't helpful to me reaching my long-term goals. There's only one thing in your business that you can't get anyone else to do. I bet you can't guess what it is. Everything that you do, someone else can do for you, from paying the accounts to ordering stock and training people. The only thing they can't do is sign your name. That's it. That's all it is. Businesses are either going forward or backwards. They don't stay the same. As people, we should take on that same thinking. Your business will not remain the same, even if you want it to. Your team will be going backwards or forwards. You'll be going backwards or forwards. There are all sorts of ways to keep your business, your team and yourself moving in the right direction. One of the keys is learning to hand over to those around you, to your team, to your suppliers, to your experts like your bookkeepers. Share the load and free yourself up to just do what you love. The nitty-gritty. Don't watch over your team like a meerkat. Show them that you trust them to get on with it and let them know that you're there if they need you. Indian giver behaviour prevents your team members from learning. Let them make mistakes. Let them fix it. Let them learn. Doing it yourself is not always the quickest way. Consider the long-term outcomes. Share the load and let your team step up to help.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation and had a laugh or two. Now, if you would like more information on what was just discussed, or even just to connect with me, check out the links in the show notes. It would mean the world to me if you would like and share this podcast with a friend or someone that you think will enjoy it, so that we can continue to grow this community together. And I look forward to seeing you